I think a lot of people right now are wrongly believing that things are getting better in Minnesota. And we are hearing from organizers on the ground. I was on a call earlier today with an organizer on the ground in Minnesota that things are not getting better there.
For those wondering what's going on in the Twin Cities, in Minneapolis, and in St. Paul, we are at the point where people are starting to be hidden in other people's homes. I'd been wondering when this would happen, and I was talking to someone on Friday, and they shared that they are doing this and that they know that they're not the only ones. And so I don't share this to spread more fear, but if you're waiting for the bottom to fall out, I think we're really close, and I can feel the eyes on our cities leaving.
lot of the misconception around Minnesota is because we're seeing corporate legacy media declining to cover what's happening there as much. And so people believe, because they're not seeing big news stories about it, that there must be less going on or things must be cooling down. And add on top of that, Tom Homan said that they're doing a draw. Now, don't get me wrong. It absolutely was a victory that Greg Runt Bavino, Mr. SS in the U.S., had to leave in disgrace, right? I realize he's partying in Las Vegas, but essentially he's been demoted. This is a man whose entire squeaky little personality is cosplaying as a Gestapo agent, okay? So it's a good thing that he's out of Minnesota, and that never would have happened without massive public outrage and the people in Minnesota organizing and vigorously pushing back, right? That absolutely is a victory. But fascists, they don't just lay down and give up because you win one round against them, right? They're going to come back even harder, right? They're going to be angry and embittered. They're going to want retribution. They're going to try and find a way to punish you for standing up against their brutality and their violence. And so they sent in literal human thumb / potato Tom Homan, devout Catholic Tom Homan, who is running an ethnic cleansing largely against other Catholics, and yet the Catholic Church still letting him take communion. Catholics, explain it to me. Now, Tom Homan is not more benign than Greg Bavino, right? He's not less than Greg Bavino by any respect, especially because we know that Tom Homan was being actively investigated by the FBI for taking $50,000 in cash, or an attempt to take $50,000 in cash in a bribe. And wow, Donald Trump and Kash Patel's FBI, they made that whole investigation for bribery go away, right? So much about what happens in a kakistocracy, in an autocracy like Trump, is that he's got dirt on people. That's how he makes them do whatever the fuck he wants them to. They can be corrupt and evil and malevolent on their own, but he's also got some way to push against them. He's got a point of leverage, right? He's got a way to pressure them to do what he wants. So that should their pesky conscience get in the way, then, oh, okay, well, if you don't do what I want, then we'll just bring back this investigation for the crimes that you have allegedly committed, right? So many of these guys are dirty, and once somebody is already dirty, then you've got fucking dirt on them, and you can use that to have them over a barrel to do your bidding. So Tom Homan said, we're doing this drawdown, but things are not better. Just this morning, federal agents rammed their vehicle into the vehicle of a civilian. That person left on a stretcher with a sheet totally covering them. I don't know how they're doing as of right now. They'll use deadly weapons as weapons against civilians, and also vehicles as deadly weapons against civilians. So things are not better when it comes to constraining the brutality of DHS agents, whether they be Customs and Border Patrol or Immigration and Customs Enforcement, which is why Democrats cannot, in good conscience, fund another fucking dollar to DHS. DHS must be dismantled. ICE must be abolished. There's no other option there. And yet the surrender Dems continue to be like, oh, we just please wear a body camera, and please don't violate the Fourth Amendment. Please try and follow existing law if that's not too hard for you. So with everything terrible that's happening in Minnesota, we're seeing elected officials on a national level in Congress fail to do the right thing, fail to have the sufficient amount of outrage. Now, there are Democrats in Congress who are calling for abolish ICE. There are Democrats in Congress who say they will not vote for any of this, including my Senator Jeff Merkley has said absolutely not, and my Congresswoman Maxine Dexter, and I'm sure my other Senator Ron Wyden as well. We're not hearing that from leadership. We're not hearing that from Hakeem Jeffries and Chuck Schumer. We're hearing Chuck Schumer want to just continue. Let's find a way to have compromises and continue to fund a violent, lawless paramilitary on the taxpayer's dime. So, federal level, obviously all Republicans and then a chunk of Democratic leadership failing Minnesotans, failing Americans. We've heard criticism after criticism that Governor Tim Walz and then also the mayor of Minneapolis, Jacob Frey, and y'all are awfully willing to do a Justin Trudeau on him when the people of Minnesota are saying, hey, both on a state and a local level, we are not seeing the kind of support that we need. Okay, mobilizing the guard and they're handing out donuts, that's okay, sure. But the state police and the local police, they are being extremely violent, they're being extremely brutal, and they are not in any way constraining federal agents and their lawlessness and brutality. So we're seeing from state and local leadership in Minnesota an insufficient response, much like we are seeing from members of Congress an insufficient response. And it reminds me that honestly, we need to stop looking to government officials to try and save us. The people of Minnesota are saving themselves. All of the success you have seen in Minnesota, all of the acquiescence from the regime, all of the success in mutual aid and defending immigrants, defending their communities, that has come from the people. That is what grassroots resistance looks like. That is what successful resistance looks like. It comes from the people because power originates in the people. One of the best examples of how civil resistance works, how we respond to what the regime is doing in the moment by being adaptive and creative, seeing a need and stepping in and filling that need, which is also an illustration of how people solve these problems. The government is not going to solve these problems. Elected officials are not going to meet these needs. It's people in the community who are receptive, who are open, who are observing, who are stepping in and doing what is required in this moment. That is how we will be successful everywhere. The best example I have seen of that is the group of everyday, ordinary, anonymous volunteers who work tirelessly outside the Whipple building in Minneapolis when immigrants have been abducted and the government can't legally hold them, right? A court has forced them to release the person or whatever happens. They are dumping people in the middle of winter in the freezing cold out into the street. Shell-shocked immigrants. They take their phone, they take their wallet, they take their winter coat. Sometimes they don't even have shoes, right? Whatever they were abducted in, sans their winter gear, sans their telephone. They just dump them outside the Whipple building and are like, good luck, fuck off, right? This is not just happening in Minneapolis. It's also something that happens at the Tacoma facility. And there is a similar group of local volunteers who wait for those people to just get dumped outside with no contact. They often speak limited English. They don't have their phone. They have no resources. It's the middle of winter. And these volunteers are like, hey, come here. We got a coat for you. We got food for you. Here's my phone. Here's some money. Here's resources. We're going to get you home. We're going to get you safe. It's that tireless work of anonymous volunteers that makes all of the difference. That is the work done by people. That is what, when Tim Snyder talks about how one of the key elements of effective resistance is that you don't abandon the most vulnerable, you know your movement is going to be successful when people are intentionally giving of themselves to care in these very anonymous ways that don't make the headlines, that are truly important and impactful.
It's who else is going to do it. At this point, it's not the police. We need the people. My name's Jack. We're just trying to help pick up some released detainees. They're left out in the cold and pick up some supplies, get them home, whatever they need. So.
Cool, thank you.
It was nice to meet you, Doc.
Do they come out here?
Yeah.
When they release them?
Yeah, we got, a whole little system. We're kind of got, whatever you call these.
Do you know when they're going to let them out?
We don't know when. Yeah.
And they just walk out?
They just drop them out. I'm looking for somebody with a jail bag, and then we go and help out.
Do they even have it's freezing today?
What I'm told is they've been taken. No, they don't have the right clothes. So in some ways, I should be thanking us because that's like another type of murder. Throw them out in this weather, you don't last very long. So, but basically, I'm told they've been taking IDs if they're brown, and then also phones no matter what. So we try to get them burner phones, things like that, get them a ride, whatever they need.
These are all of the small ways that make all of the difference in the lives of immigrants and ultimately at the end of the day make all of the difference in a resistance movement. This is how we build our power. Ordinary, regular people undertaking courageous acts that nobody will ever know about, giving of themselves on a daily basis, dedicating themselves to community care, people care, resistance work. That's how we're going to stop this. It's not going to be some governor. It's not going to be some member of Congress who's suddenly going to do the right thing and stop all of this. It's us, the people, in all of the ways that we can organize on a local level and push back in every way that we can on a local level. Mutual aid is the linchpin, y'all. It is the linchpin of the resistance.